I never believed in ghost stories. I mean, come on, right? But then, well, let me start from the beginning. I'm Mark, by the way. Just your average mainlander trying to make a new life in Hawaii.
Beware, Howley. Some things are meant to be left undisturbed.
It all began with the stones. Just a simple pile, really. Tucked away in the corner of my new backyard beneath this ancient gnarled ohia tree. The realtor never mentioned them. Maybe she didn't notice. But I did. They were odd. Too perfect. Too deliberate. I remember standing there, staring at them. The sun was setting, painting everything in gold. But those stones, they seemed to absorb the light, like black holes against the lush green backdrop. I should have listened. But I had plans. Big plans for a garden. And those stones, they were in the way. So I did what any rational person would do. I moved them, one by one, into the wheelbarrow. As I picked up the last one, a wind kicked up. Just for a second. But I swear I heard whispers, like tiny voices carried on the breeze, speaking in a language I couldn't understand. That night, the dreams came, drums echoing from deep within the earth, shadows dancing at the edge of my vision, little eyes glowing in the dark, watching, waiting. When I finally woke, the sun was just peeking over the horizon. I stumbled to the window, desperate for some fresh air to clear my head. And then things got really weird, because there, in the soft light of dawn, I saw something that made my blood run cold. The next morning, I stepped outside, coffee in hand, ready to start on that garden. But then, God, I can still remember the chill that ran down my spine. The stones were back. I ran to the wheelbarrow, empty. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I freaked out a little. Okay, a lot.
Mark, you okay, dear? You look like you've seen a ghost. The stones. You moved the stones.
She told me about the menehune. Little people, she said. Hawaiian spirits, tricksters who build things at night, fish ponds, temples, stone piles. So I did what any modern, rational person would do when faced with the supernatural. I bought cameras, lots of cameras. Then I moved the stones again, scattering them this time. As night fell, I sat in front of the monitors, watching, waiting. The screens flickered with static, casting an eerie blue glow across my face. At first, nothing. Then, shadows, flitting across the windows. Too fast, too small to be human. Suddenly, one of the cameras went dark, then another, and another. I watched, paralyzed, as each screen blinked out, one by one. As I stared, wide-eyed, the stones began to move, on their own, floating through the air like they weighed nothing at all. And then, just as the last stone settled into place, something looked directly into the camera. Two glowing eyes, filled with ancient mischief. The screen went black, and I think I screamed. After that night, things got worse. Way worse. It started small, keys vanishing, only to show up in that damn stone pile. My coffee mug emptying and refilling on its own. And the laughter. God, that high-pitched, childlike giggling echoing through the house at night. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. At work, I was a mess. I mean, try explaining to your boss why you're late because, sorry, sir, magical Hawaiian spirits hid my car keys again. Yeah, that went over real well. Nearly lost my job that day. And you know what the kicker was? I got home to find my performance review on the kitchen table, covered in tiny, muddy footprints. But as I raised the hammer, the air, it changed. Grew thick, heavy, like trying to breathe underwater. And then I saw them, dozens of them, tiny figures no taller than my knee surrounding me. Their skin was bark-like, eyes glowing like embers in the twilight. The menehune. They were real. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The hammer fell from my hands as they closed in, their little faces twisted in anger. The world spun, their eerie whispers growing louder until...
I'm concerned you might be experiencing some kind of psychotic break. Have you considered selling your house? Maybe leaving Hawaii for a while?
When I got home, I stood in the driveway just staring at the house. Was I really going crazy? Had it all been in my head? And then I saw it. There, on top of the stone pile, a small wooden carving. It was me. A perfect miniature wooden version of me, right down to the Hawaiian shirt and khaki shorts I was wearing at that moment. That's when I knew. This was real. All of it. And I had a choice to make. You know, it's funny. Sometimes the only way out is through. I realized I had two choices. Keep fighting and probably end up in a padded room, or make peace. Hello, Menehune. I'm sorry. I didn't mean any disrespect. I'm new here, and I didn't understand, but I want to. If you'll let me. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the air shimmered, like heat rising off hot asphalt. And suddenly they were everywhere. Dozens of them. Tiny, glowing figures, their bark-like skin blending with the fading light. I held out my offerings, trying not to let them see how terrified I was. The closest Menehune, barely knee-high, looked at the poi, then at me. And then, it smiled. What happened next? I don't really have words for. They took the offerings and then they danced. A tiny face peeked out from behind the stones. It winked at me. Actually winked. Before vanishing. I couldn't help but laugh. You know, I came to Hawaii looking for a new life. I just never expected it to be quite like this. So now, every morning, I greet the stones, leave an offering. And as I work in my garden, yeah, I finally got around to that. I swear I can hear tiny giggles on the breeze. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way.